Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My talk this morning is centered around a prayer, centered around a very powerful 12-word prayer. And this prayer is simple to memorize, and it's powerful to contemplate, and it's powerful to meditate on. And I encourage memorizing it and using it as a spiritual practice every day. It goes soul awakening, heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, peace radiating. Hmm. Um, So I invite you, if you, I meant to put this prayer in the chat. Maybe someone could type it into the chat right now. Soul awakening, heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, and peace radiating. Because I would like you to speak this prayer with me. I'd like us to speak it 4 times. And as we do in the loving kindness meditation that I do sometimes, first we focus on ourselves, as Laura said. We focus on our own self-love and our own well-being first. We place our attention and our intention on our own soul awakening and our heart opening, the light shining in our heart and mind, love flowing through us, our wounds dissolving, and peace radiating from the core of our being. So if you would join me now and speak out loud as we affirm for ourselves, soul awakening, heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, peace radiating. And just let the power of those spoken words water the seeds of your soul awakening and heart opening. And next, let's take a moment and offer this prayer to someone we care about, someone we know needs a prayer right now, someone we want to send the energy of awakening, soul awakening, and heart opening and peace to. So we focus, we take that person into our mind's eye. We focus this prayer on them and we visualize them. We see them as we speak the prayer. Soul awakening, heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, peace radiating. And we see that person feeling expansive, feeling their heart and they're being filled with light, feeling a wave of peace wash over them. And then next, we visualize this process to include and touch everyone in our circle, all our relations, all the people we're connected to. We just feel this energy ripple out and resonate through the field of all of our connections as we speak soul awakening, heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, peace radiating. Whole circle, the whole community, all our relations. And then lastly, we visualize our entire planet. We see our whole planet having a collective planetary soul awakening, a planetary shift and heart opening as we speak these powerful words of creation into creation. Soul awakening, heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, peace radiating. Charles Fillmore, founder of Unity, he said, to realize a prayer is to actualize it. To realize it is to clothe it with soul, to know there is fulfillment, to know there is fulfillment of that prayer. So we know that the power of our thoughts, the power of our spoken word with intention, when we're aligned with spirit, which is always aligned with the highest good, we know that in our faith that the power of our words are creative, and they are creating now. They are creating soul awakening, heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, and peace radiating. We are that. We embody that. We radiate that. And we create that. And so it is. I know that this world can feel overwhelming. You know, I know it can feel like there's so much healing needed, right? And I know that part of my purpose here, part of my unique purpose in this moment in time, in this embodiment, is to remind you and to support you, as I also remind myself, to stay steady and strong in the truth. The truth being that we are here to awaken our soul and open our heart and shine our light and help others do the same. That we are here and we must remain steady in the highest purpose of our life. Part of how we remain steady is through remembering and using the incredible power of our minds and our hearts united in an intention and affirmation, and that is prayer. In unity, that is prayer. You know, I can feel our society is particularly suffering from mental unwellness, you know, from an unbalanced and untrained mind gone kind of insane. And there are reasons, there are a variety of reasons for that. And one is too much amplified bad news, right? Too much amplified bad news can convince our brains collectively that things are bad, you know, and that can cause a loss of hope and faith. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to where we place our attention. Pay attention to where we put our attention. Because if we place our attention on 24/7 news, bad news, you know, we're placing it on what's wrong and what we don't want, right? But if instead we place it on what supports our soul awakening and our heart opening, then we're keeping our eye on the ball of our life purpose, so to speak. So this simple prayer as a spiritual practice is very useful, and it's useful every time the mind wanders into fear and what's wrong, right? We make a conscious choice to redirect and focus it on what we want to create here, right? You know, we're all in this together, right? We are this body of co-creators that God is, right? You can think of humanity as just one vast sea of God in many, 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 many forms. And so it's a dance, right? It's a dance. I do this move, right? And then the 5 other people that I interact with in my life today, they do a move, right? And it's fluid. It's fluid. And you know, the times we're in require a lot of flowing with the dance, a lot of improvisation, right? I just saw a great salsa show the other night, you know? And, you know, sometimes we don't expect the next dance step, right? It was somebody dances in a different way than we expect. And so we adjust and we improvise and we're like, oh, okay, I can do that dance, right? Lately, I've been doing the dance of ever-changing addresses. I thought, I had rented, I shared with some of you, I thought I had rented a place in Tahoe in May, right? I signed a month-to-month lease, and for what I thought would be at least a year. And then I came to find out while I was up here in Mount Shasta, on the day that I had all my things in the car to move into that place, that it wasn't going to be available due to circumstances I had been unaware of. And so I had, just let go of my Mount Shasta home, and now all of a sudden I had no home, right? So that very evening, I looked on Craigslist and I found a little apartment in Ashland, which is right close to my mom. And 2 days later, I rented it. And so I have a little studio that's closer to my family than ever. And I'm hoping to find a place in Tahoe in the next couple months. But, in the last 2 weeks, I have done so much moving, and I've been watching my mind, and I've been guiding my mind. And like, that's what we have to do. The mind is a great servant. It's a terrible master. The awareness we are, that's the master. And so I've been watching my mind, and I have not really allowed my mind to have a bad opinion of any of what's happening. I've just been keeping it steady and focused on what needs to happen without an opinion. I remember I received a wonderful teaching from Amma many years ago. She said, "You have to live life like a bird sitting on a dry twig, a dry twig, and that twig could break at any moment, and you have to always be ready to fly." So the twig, in this case for me, was having a home. I've had to leave multiple dry twigs and take flight. And I'm just really glad I've been able to be at peace with that. It's neat to acknowledge progress, the work that you do, that you're doing. It's wonderful to see that it's paying off, right? You're able to be that radiating peace even when you're moving 3 times in 10 days. Life right now is moving fast. There's change, there's evolution, and there's need for change. It's really up the need for change. And so if we can gracefully flow through changes, we can be peace radiating, as the last line of that prayer states. So this prayer that I'm sharing today, it comes from a wonderful book by James O'Dea called Soul Awakening Practice, and I highly recommend this gem of a book. I was introduced to James O'Dea through Michael Singer. They're very good friends, and in fact, James was the president of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and that's who published Michael's book, The Untethered Soul. James is also the director of Amnesty International and also the CEO of Ram Dass's Seva Foundation. So I really love his books, and especially this book, Soul Awakening Practice, because in his book, he coalesces our spiritual journey that we're on right now into this 12-word prayer. And for each line, he had one of today's most powerful teachers write a chapter for each line, like Soul Awakening had a chapter, Heart Opening had a chapter, Light Shining had a chapter. And I particularly love the chapter on Soul Awakening that James had Barbara Marx Hubbard write. And if you know Barbara, if you know her work, she is a visionary. She was a world-renowned visionary and educator. I got to work with Barbara, co-facilitating a few retreats. We did one with Gary Zukoff in Mount Shasta. That was when I first met her, and I just fell in love with her. But she describes humanity's state that we're in right now as a crisis that is a birth, and that we have in our DNA, in our memory, a very long evolutionary journey that got us to this moment in time, this moment right now, and that we signed up to be here now, right? And though the world reflects confusion and chaos and old patterns that feel incredibly limited and unconscious, to those of us that are waking up, all of you I'm talking to, we need to hold steady. I really like that word, steady, hold steady, We need to keep our faith strong in what is possible, even when there are frightening reflections of old consciousness, kind of clinging on for dear life, trying to stay in control. We're watching in so many ways the old consciousness, trying to cling to power and wanting to repress, wanting to repress women or repress democracy or repress equality of everyone's rights. When you think of birth, right, it can be quite hard, right? It can end up with a mother or a child not making it. There can be complications. It's not easy giving birth, it's often painful. But you don't give up, right? You can't give up. You can't give up. And that's what I would say about the times we're in. We need a whole heap of courage, and patience, and strength, and faith, and stamina for this, right? We need to take really good care of ourselves and stay in balance for the times we're in. The new consciousness wanting to be born is no longer fear-based, and it is no longer control-based. It's not power and control. It's not that third chakra. It's fourth chakra. It's heart. It's about love. It's no longer based on greed, and it's not focused on the me. It is focused on the we. It's awake to a connectedness with all of humanity and all of life. But, what can feel so messy, what can feel like a hard birth is where worn out paradigms that no longer serve are being held onto, right? And we feel great concern when those who want to control and repress seem to gain ground. But we have to hold steady and focus on what we want to see born in this world, because we are powerful creators, right? Barbara says that the soul awakening is encoded in us, and that part of the process is felt as this passionate desire to be more, to love more, and to create more. I don't know about you, but I feel that. I feel that urge inside to be more, to love more, to create more. I actually feel an album in there, a new album in there wanting to be birthed, about the times we're in. But that genius that created all life is alive in us and wanting to express itself. And we are truly meant to become as God, fully in the image of God manifest, right? She describes it this way. She says we're moving from Homo sapien to Homo universalis, and that we are actually the first generation of this. And so there's no map. We're like looking for books. We're looking for the wisest teachers and the wisest teachings to get us through this time. But we are at a unique time in history that's never been before. She said it took billions of years to get to the stage that we're at right now as a planetary body integrating into a new whole system. The internet is an expression of this new body, right? Here I am on Zoom. I'm in Ashland, Oregon. You're in Germany, or you're in Italy, or you're in Maui, or you're in Portland, or you're in Lake Tahoe, or, we're all over the place. But here we are, we're all connected. So this is a first on this earth. I mean, 100 years ago, it would have been so hard to conceive of this, what we're doing in this moment now. It's pretty amazing. And it's our genius intelligence that is of God that made this possible. One of the old paradigms that's so ready to fall away, that we need to fall away, not a moment too soon, is war. I so appreciate we keep praying for Ukraine, and we keep praying for peace to prevail, because war is so unnecessary if we could just agree to live in peace and cooperate as a species. There's numerous countries out there that have thermonuclear weapons. There's 9, to be exact, 9 countries that have weapons pointed at each other that can destroy our Earth. But at the same time, we have all sorts of new capacities, new capabilities like this, like Zoom, that give us the power of the gods. We have nanotechnology, biotechnologies, quantum computing, robotics, artificial intelligence. And the thing is, with all this high-tech genius, we can restore the earth. We can free this earth and humanity from hunger. We can free humanity from poverty and disease and war, right? We can explore the farther inner reaches of consciousness, and we can explore the outer cosmos so far beyond this planet. There are so many planets out there, and they're so it's so exciting, actually. And that's where I want to place my attention, and that's where I feel to draw your attention. So, instead of getting sidetracked by the fear and by the reflections of humans that are holding on to the old paradigm of power and control and repression, we have a part to play in this birth that's happening now, right? And yes, it's messy and it looks dangerous at times, but you have an important part to play. And I have an important part to play. And so we need inner fortitude and strength to not shrink at the task at hand, to step up and be responsible to this moment, right? One of the things Barbara writes is that evolution is yearning for more intimacy, more love. And I feel like that is like the truest statement. Evolution is yearning for more intimacy, more love. We have so much information and so much capacity with all our technology, but we need more intimacy. We need more holding someone's hand, putting our arm around someone's shoulder, offering a smile, a kind word. Intimacy is into me see. When you travel these days, everybody is into their phone. They're on their phone and they're not connecting. And so that's kind of a self-correction we need to make as humanity. Technology can isolate us if we're not careful. Here on Zoom, it's connecting us. And so we need to remember that evolution is yearning for more intimacy and more love. I want to offer another day of retreat, at least maybe a full day of retreat in the fall. Because just the simple act of sitting in silence together, singing love songs to spirit together, praying together, sharing heart opening practices together, it nourishes us in such a needed, deep way. And we can include Zoom. We can have it on Zoom too. So Barbara describes how in our coming state of evolution, we experience a universal personhood. We have a self that is unique, universal, formless, and not bound by ego. Rather, it is a consciously manifested expression of spirit animating each of us. And I find it interesting that she says we'll be formless and yet manifesting. And I think that is what we're moving into. And that is really the key to bringing forth a new evolution, is that we rest in the formless, we rest in the stillness beyond the mind. And when we go beyond the mind, we go beyond form, thought form. We bring that then, that stillness, that light, that insight into creation. And that's part of that prayer, light shining, the consciousness, the light of consciousness shining. There's a story that describes a more universal human that I recently read. And it's a story about a farmer who every year he won his corn, earned the winning prize at the state fair. And one year, a reporter interviewed this farmer, and he learned something interesting about how he grew his corn. The farmer told the reporter that he shared his prize-winning seed corn with his neighbors. And when he was asked why, the farmer explained, the wind picks up the pollen from the ripening corn and it swirls it. It swirls it around from field to field. And if the neighbors grow inferior corn, then cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. So if I'm to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors grow good corn. And I really like that story because it demonstrates how things work well when we cooperate. I love the word cooperate, right? when we co-create for the good of all, and that's a shift from competition to cooperation. Barbara says we must evolve to a consciousness within that is not bound by ego. You know, in the story, if the farmer was bound by ego, he wouldn't want to share his corn seed, right? He'd want to compete and have the very best. But the universal consciousness is a win-win. It's a win-win paradigm. It wants everyone to thrive, right? So Barbara writes about the 4 E's of our conscious evolution that I really love. And the first E is eternity. And that is the source of creation alive in every one of us. When we rest in this present moment, we touch eternity. Eternity is always here in this present moment, in the now. This now moment and the next now moment and the next now moment. We are eternal. So that is the first step, part of our conscious evolution, is being aware of our eternal nature. You know, death teaches us, the death of form teaches us to go deeper and find our eternal nature. The second E is to embody, right? We're encoded with this awareness, and we have a unique function. You know, you have a unique function here. I have a unique function in this new phase of planetary evolution. And we might feel unsure, you know, we might still be figuring out where we best fit in this evolving system, but we are needed. Be sure of that. We need patience, though, and we need to listen, and we will be shown. We will be shown day by day. The third E she mentions is to emerge, right? And that means saying yes to our emerging potential and to allow that emerging to come through. And again, we need meditation. We need to be still, be in prayer, be receptive, keep ourselves healthy and in balance, because there is more for you to do. There is more for us to do. There's more to know, to become, to give. There's more love to feel and to share and to be. The fourth E is eros. Barbara beautifully says, evolution is the expression of love. You know, Jesus taught that. Jesus embodied that, right? And he taught a very wide love, loving your neighbor as yourself. That is an all-inclusive love. That is loving your neighbor of every race, of every sexual orientation, of every ethnicity, of every religion, of every country, of every walk of life. You know, in our society, we're seeing, you know, this old paradigm of tribalism, which is, it's been out picturing in our country more recently as this rising of nationalism. It really is a kind of separating, right? If we follow the master's teaching, then we want to develop a greater love that is all inclusive, that is all I see as part of me, right? All I see as part of me. You know, in our world, if we can rise above greed and egotism, we can take care of all the people of the world. We can be incredibly creative. We can help other countries thrive so they're happy to be where they are. Say they don't need to leave. They don't need to run for safety, right? We have enough technology and abundance to eradicate hunger and poverty, you know, so we have to keep our eye on the ball of making this a reality. Barbara says, as our soul awakens, we're attracted to one another across all barriers of race, class, color, gender, and creed. And when we use our intelligence and resources to help each other, then we move towards a massive planetary shift. You know, and that's when we do, as that little book I read you says, that's when we do see that all I see is part of me, and we want to serve. We want to help and serve all that we are. Barbara says at the very peak of the planetary soul awakening, it expresses itself through enough of us simultaneously to shift the consciousness field of Earth from fear to love. From fear to love. You know, if you're feeling, there's a lot of fear being amplified right now, and it just feels like an old way that's dying, that's rearing its head for one last gasp, right? We cannot let that infect our hearts. We need to stay in the energy of love as much as fear might be reflected in the news and in our society. But Barbara says that at that point of a planetary shift, our planet will resonate with such a high frequency out into the universe that will attract the lights from universal existence to come towards us. That's a very expansive thought. So, in closing, what I hope I leave you with today is an inspired energy of hope and faith in our very important purpose here, in your very important purpose here, and the importance of staying steady, steady in all the challenges, and remembering the power of prayer. And in particular for today, this prayer that I'm sharing with you, soul awakening, heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, and peace radiating. May you feel yourself embody that. Embody that soul awakening and heart opening. Feel yourself shining and love flowing and wounds dissolving, and this beautiful energy of peace, this peace beyond understanding, this unshakable peace radiating from the very center of your being, where you were always, always connected to source, to spirit. So may all beings awaken, and may all beings be at peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.